After my experience of living in New York for a few months as a full-time traveler, so settling down just for a limited amount of time, I want to give you 5 advices that I find essential. This video comes after my recap about how I afforded to stay in Manhattan for such a long time and on such a small budget that you can go watch at the end of this video if you want. You will find the link in the description. Ask to the locals for everything. Ask to the locals if you move to another place for a few weeks, a few days, a few months. Just don't go crazy trying to figure out things. Stop people on the street or talk with your barista, talk with anyone you want. Remember that locals are there and they are happy to help you. If you are on a budget and you don't really know how to cook, learn to cook simple stuff. Because maybe you will keep eating out very often, but if you want to save money, you need to eat something at home, and it has to be something nutritious and tasty at the same time. So what I suggest is the most balanced meal possible is to always have a box or a bag of a grain, which can be either rice or farro or barley or pasta or couscous, whatever you prefer. And that is something you just have to boil with some salt. Then you keep a pack of dry legumes or frozen legumes. It can be a frozen peas, for example, but the best thing is having like dry lentils or dry chickpeas or beans, whatever you prefer. Possibly not canned, but if you want, go with canned legumes. They're not as healthy and as tasty though. And figure out how to cook them, which is just soaking in water and boiling them, but just Google it, and how to make them tasty. And after you have these 2 basics, whenever you want to cook something, you just stop at a street vendor of fruit and vegetables, or you stop at the grocery store, whatever you want. You grab some fresh vegetables, you cut them, you fry them very quickly in the pan, or you boil them, and you just put them together with the grain and the legumes, and you have a super balanced, fulfilling and tasty meal. Another big advice that I want to give you is to bike. If possible, bike. Choose the bike because you make an investment in advance, which is either buying a bike like I did or renting a city bike, but then it will pay off because by biking around, first of all, of course, you don't have to pay for transportation, which can be a big saving, but it can also be not by itself. But if you think about it, if you have a bike, that's gonna serve you as entertainment. Like I just showed you, like for me, the main entertainment this spring and summer in New York has been my bike, because I could just bike everywhere and either go do some stuff, or even just the bike trip itself was a form of having fun, exploring, doing something interesting. And not only that, but you will save on a gym. Because let's say you don't go to the gym because you decide to save money and just go running. But if you have a bike, instead of running 5 times per week, you can run 3 times per week, and the rest you just go take a bike ride. It's less monotonous this way. Or if it's winter, let's say, and you think that buying or renting a bike is not such a good idea because of the weather, but at the same time you're not going to go running because it's still cold, I think you should reconsider the bike option. Because unless it's really January, like the very cold month when the temperature goes below freezing point and it's snowing, I highly suggest you to bike, because you're gonna get warmer and you're gonna get exercise without having to pay for the gym or having to run in the freezing cold, which you're most likely not gonna do. Next advice is buy everything used. You don't need new stuff. It's a waste of money and a damage for the environment as well. But I've talked about this already, and I also give you further advice on this in this vlog that I'm gonna put in the cards, which is titled How to Settle Down for a Few Months. Go check it out. I think it's a very useful video for who wants to go to another country just for a limited period of time, so he doesn't want to really settle, but doesn't also want to live on a suitcase. And about this, I must tell you something bizarre, but I think genius, is using this excuse of going to buy used stuff to explore the city. For example, at a certain point I found on the internet an ad for a free blender. I thought it would have been a super useful tool for the kitchen, so I went buying, but it ended up being in Bay Ridge, which is very far away from Manhattan. So I booked the item and then I waited until I could take a free afternoon and the weather was nice, and that Wednesday I took my bike and I biked for 2 hours, making like little stops on the way down to Brooklyn, Red Hook, and then Bay Ridge. And it was so awesome. And if I didn't have to buy a blender, I would have never done it. And I did the same thing when I went buying a used yoga mat to Roosevelt Island. It was a place, let's say almost 1 hour from home. I took 2 or 3 hours off and I had a wonderful time. And final tip to wrap up this video: when some solution doesn't satisfy you, when you think there could be something better, just research further. Don't settle down for something that doesn't satisfy you. We are so lucky to live in the era of internet. Use it. It's a tool in your hands. It's free. You have Google, use it. You have YouTube, use it. These are free tools where there is a ton of material that is super useful for you, and there are possibilities that you would have never imagined, but somebody else has discovered for you. Whenever I have a doubt, I go on YouTube. I type in my problem, and most of the time someone has made a video about it. Now, if you haven't yet, go check out my video about how I afforded to stay for 4 months in Manhattan on a very limited budget. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye!